There's a lot of questions general about your connection to AC/DC.
Yeah.
Here is Marcelo. He's asking about, have you met Bon Scott? If yes, what can you tell us about him?
Our association goes back to the very, very early days of the band, because it was only the very early days, so we're talking about the late 70s, where the two bands were both in Sydney or Melbourne, playing at the same time around about that time. So it was because of Bon and Malcolm and Angus that we got signed to Albert's, because they were saying to Albert's, they were recording already, and I was saying to George and Harry, come and see this band and they'd be good to be on the label. So our relationship goes back to that time. And then once they started to come overseas and spend more time out of Australia, it was more difficult. We ran into them briefly in England when we first came over. It was 81.
81.
Yeah. And so, you know, Bon had already passed. The relationship that I had with him was in Australia, and we had a relationship about our music, and we both saw ourselves as the same kind of singer. We both saw ourselves as, I remember him saying to me, what we write is the same kind of, he says, rock poetry. And I said, yeah, it is rock poetry, but it's folk music. It's like Woody Guthrie or Bob Dylan or all the great blues singers wrote folk music, because it was songs about people they knew and how people lived their lives. It wasn't always about, you know, romance and, you know, boy, girl, you know, oh baby, you know, you've left me, my heart's broken, whatever. I mean, that's a great start for the blues, but the real blues was written about how they saw life, and how we wrote about what the songs that we wrote were about that. So we had that in common. So our relationship was based around the fact that we were both considered to be like madmen or lunatics, and we both believed that we wrote, you know, really good lyrics, like good rock and roll songs, and that we both were singers in great bands. So, and there was a lot of alcohol and drugs consumed as well. So that's my memories. That was my relationship with Bon.
Okay. And there is Francesco Longo. He's asking, is it true that AC/DC drummer Phil Rudd and Angry Anderson know each other because they played in a band with Lobby Lloyd? Then they went on to call themselves Buster Brown until it was chucked it in, and then met AC/DC.
How it started was, and we're talking about the early 70s, I was looking for a band, and a friend of mine said he knew a new band starting, and they didn't have a singer. So I knew one of the guys in the band, the guitar player, John Moon. So I rang him up and I said, "You looking for a singer?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you know, I'll come and have a sing. I'm looking for a band." And he said, "Yeah, that's cool," because he knew who I was. And I went down there, and the band then was John Moon guitar, a guy called Paul Grant playing guitar, another guy called Ian playing bass, Chris Wilson playing keyboards, and Phil Rudd was playing drums. And so I went down, I had some jams with the band, and then we decided, okay, we're going to form the band. This is the band. And we didn't have a name. And I'd always wanted to call the band Buster Brown. I just thought it was a very cool name. You know, Buster Brown is like a character, a cartoon character. And he's a tough little kid. And it's from an American cartoon, actually. But I said to the guys, what do you think about Buster Brown? I went, yeah, it's a fucking cool name, you know, because it's the image, tough little kid, you know, don't give me no shit, you know, that sort of thing. So that's how Phil and I met. Then a little bit later, the bass player left, and we got Geordie. Now, Phil knew Geordie. They lived in the same area.
Went to school together.
Yeah, but Phil was in the
2 years older.
A couple of years older, yeah. So that's how Geordie came into Buster, and Geordie actually ended up playing in. There was a time. But what happened was with Buster was we played for a couple of years and we did an album, and the record company just lost interest in us because we were too tough a band. We had a big skinhead following, and so the band started to. They didn't know how to deal with us. We had the same problem with Rose Tattoo as well. Every band I've ever been in, we've had the same problem. Maybe it's me, but Phil, the band was starting to fall apart, and we'd seen AC/DC play a few times, and their drummer left, so they knew that we were having problems. They said to Phil, would you like to come and play in AC/DC? I remember Phil saying to me, what do you think? And I said, well, I think it's a great band. I said, Buster's over. It's over, you know. You should go and join the band.
Okay. And Morty asked about if there are some funny stories or unforgettable stories you had with AC/DC during the club days in the 70s when you...
I think the funniest things that happened, apart from after the gigs, that we spent time, you know, drinking together and being, you know, noisy and, you know, but mainly Phil and Mark, who was then playing bass, and he's still a friend to this day. Love Mark. He's a great guy. He's a great bass player. He would actually fit very easily into Rose Tattoo. Mainly Mark and myself and Geordie and Phil and Bon, and the other two never came out, you know, party for drinking and stuff. So we spent more time, you know, being naughty boys together. But there was we used to jam with Angus, particularly Angus and Bon. We never liked people to come and jam with Rose Tattoo. We didn't like other people just getting up with our band and having to sing or play. But with them, that was cool because we were all about the same sort of music. So we had lots of really cool nights where we would, they would come to our gigs and get up and have a play.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's no video.
Unfortunately,
yeah. And no tapes. Well, I think there must be tapes somewhere, you know, but
that's really...
we don't know who's got them.
Really long ago, yeah.
Yeah.